For several years, the Saudi leadership touted an ambitious plan to build a futuristic green city in the middle of the desert. Their project, dubbed NEOM, comes with a price tag of $1 trillion. At the center of this mega project, which will cover an area larger than Kuwait, will be a skyscraper called The Line.
As the world's urban population rapidly increases at an exponential rate, innovators have been working day and night to build the most ideal city in the world. Such a competition was necessary as cities around the world have major problems like inefficiency, pollution, and unsustainability. As a result of this competition, Saudi Arabia announced its finalized plans of one of the world's most ambitious infra projects, The Line. Since then, it has received massive attention from around the world, both positive and negative. Some see this as a revolutionary paradise, while some a claustrophobic dystopia. The entire city is a 170-kilometer long, 200-meter wide, cuboidal structure standing taller than the Empire State. The city also promises various groundbreaking tech and innovations, which aren't even fully ready yet. As bold and far-fetched this idea is, it has received no shortage of criticism. The entire idea just seems too impractical, even from a normal person's view. As the commercials say,
designed by world-leading architects,
and Saudi Arabia willing to invest up to $1 trillion in this project, could this really be a blueprint for a possible utopia? Why does a project that seems so unrealistic even be taken seriously at such a high scale? Today, we analyze the controversial linear megacity, NEOM The Line, and why it could be truly a city of the future. The project NEOM was initially announced by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman way back in 2017 at the Future Investment Initiative in Riyadh. Fast forward to 2022, the NEOM development has 3 regions: a floating city plus seaport Oxagon, a mountainous resort Trojena, and the main core of NEOM, that is, The Line. The city is 160 kilometers long, 200 meters wide, and 500 meters tall, and is housed within an elegant glass facade. It is also said to incorporate state-of-the-art technologies like high-speed rail, vertical living, and many more. Honestly, it kind of feels like they're using a lot of sci-fi buzzwords, but you get the idea. The renderings of the city's interior also look very grand and utopian. The project has also gathered a lot of controversy. Just like many other seemingly dumb, overambitious solutions to modern problems put forward by wealthy people or organizations who have never really faced these problems themselves. However, we will not be going into any political topics in this video and review the project from an engineering viewpoint. Some of the major points of controversy of this city are size and scale, financial feasibility, livability, and technology. Let us go deeper into what NEOM's developers have to say about these points and see why it may or may not be a so-called revolution in urban living. The city has an inorganic linear shape which is made up of multiple modules. This is very different from traditional cities which spread out organically. This is said so that it reduces its carbon footprint and minimizes destruction of the environment. The linear design may also be more efficient because just one form of transportation will have access to all the points in the city. The NEOM website says that there will be smaller types of transportation for module-to-module transport, like horizontal elevators. If we also look into the dimensions of the city, Project Executive Director Giles Pendleton says, "These numbers are driven by research and science. When it comes to elements such as depth of light, air circulation, and so on. This linear structure also achieves direct access to nature. This can be a very good selling point for the city's housing units and may add up to its value. On the other side, this design may pose some other problems, like skyrocketing financial costs. Whether or not the positives and negatives of the project are willing to cancel out each other is yet to be seen." The entire superstructure is also covered with a glass facade, which is to reflect away the heat and making the massive structure blend in with its surrounding. This facade may pose a threat to the bird life in the area, and the makers have said that they'll place markers on the glass to make it somewhat visible. Anyways, this won't be much of a problem because normal cities have a phenomenally high impact on wildlife. As we've mentioned before, the canyon that is the center of the structure should have good ventilation and sunlight, if we are to believe the official statements. What remains to be seen is if such a structure could be built. The parallel walls could reflect the sunlight downwards and burn up the surrounding landscape, rendering it uninhabitable. These parallel mirrors could also make it more difficult to construct the building, since there could be weight distribution problems. They could solve these problems if they replace those straight walls with curved walls. This could solve these problems to an extent. Anyways, these problems would have to be thought out soon, as the project's contracts have already been given out to the UK-based geotechnics giant Keller, and work has already started on this site as of October 2022. With such jaw-dropping features, it is of little surprise that this endeavor would come with a hefty price tag. The previously mentioned contract with Keller could reach around $400 billion, but experts say the cost of the entire project could reach well over $1 trillion. This is more than the GDP of Saudi Arabia. The initial funding would come from the People's Investment Fund, or PIF, which could be around $50 billion. And the rest of the capital is to come from foreign investors. All these numbers seem high, even for a wealthy nation like Saudi Arabia, and would further add to the impracticality of the project. However, what most people fail to realize is that this is a cost of an entire fully functioning city, which would include everything from houses, offices, factories, parks, schools, and much more. And that the cash flow should come from multiple sources. This further seems even more practical when we compare it to some other cities. In order to build a city like London from scratch, some estimates say it could take around $1.2 trillion. For Dubai, it's around $800 billion. These costs are never fully noticed because the source of capital is from multiple places, and investment is done over a long duration. Since the city will be built in modules, the city's developers also do not have to worry about the total cost of the city. If the initial modules are financially successful, they can build more. If not, then that money should be spent elsewhere, maybe on some other place. But that won't render the entire city useless. What they will have to worry about is the return of investment, which would depend on the people living there. The closed box-like structure may add some complications to the livelihood of the people living there. Although the city's developers say that this layout would increase interaction among people, it remains to be seen how true this is. Many people have also labeled the project as claustrophobic and dystopian. However, the modules are supposed to be around 200 meters wide, about 5 times that of a normal cruise ship. And there aren't any reviews of ships being labeled as claustrophobic. The city would be larger than most of the modern airports. The dystopian argument may also not be valid, as many people, especially around the world, live in much more congested and depressing areas without even knowing it. The greenery and aesthetic of the city may also be a good selling point for the entire development. The city would also have many attractions like universities, water parks, and stadiums, but these are said to be built only when the need is high. One of the major hurdles to the project is the technology showcased in its promotions. For example, what even is this? This is simply not physically possible. And for end-to-end transport in 20 minutes, the rail would need to be faster than even the fastest bullet trains. The highly sustainable equipment and the utopian concepts shown in these videos are just too good to be true. maybe these would never really be implemented, and they're just intended to appeal to the masses, because the overall concept could still be somewhat achievable by modern day technology. Such high-tech equipment shown in commercial videos are just made to make an illusion that technology is just going to pop up if we quote-unquote innovate and be ambitious. But in reality, it's a completely different thing. It takes years of manpower and decades of experience, along with heavy funding, to truly make such engineering feats. No matter what you think of the project, we all have to agree on one thing: that this project is extremely ambitious, maybe even too ambitious. Even the best of experts aren't able to predict the future of this endeavor. And there are also many ethical and geopolitical issues which are raised by people, particularly in the West, but that is kind of beyond the scope of this engineering related video. We've seen the engineering and technical details of the project, and it seems a little shaky, but now it completely depends on how and what it becomes when it's somewhat ready. Throughout the years, there have been many grand visions of alternatives to modern day technologies, but these never really see the light of day, and they're no more than PR stunts. With a heavy source of capital and some determination shown by MBS and the Saudi Arabian government, we can say that we can expect something to come up in the desert. Whether or not this would be a game-changing city that would feature alongside cities like Dubai is yet to be seen.